The sun had barely risen when millionaire Ethan Caldwell's private jet touched down on the small rural airstrip outside his secluded ranch. He hadn't planned on returning so early. His board meeting in the city had ended in betrayal, arguments, and a weight he couldn't bear another second. His ranch, his place of escape, was the only place that ever quieted his mind. What he didn't expect was to find the front door already unlocked. Ethan stepped inside quietly, his leather shoes tapping softly across the polished wooden floor. A faint sound drifted from the living room, soft humming. His brows furrowed. Nobody was supposed to be here. He had dismissed the staff for a full week. Then he heard it, tiny giggles. Children's giggles. He followed the sound and froze. A young black woman stood in front of the fireplace, her back to him, cradling a crying baby girl. Two toddlers, identical little boys, sat on a blanket on the floor, chewing on wooden blocks that definitely didn't belong to the ranch. Sunlight streaming through the window painted her in a soft glow. She rocked the baby with practiced patience, fatigue etched into her posture. Ethan cleared his throat. The woman jumped, clutching the baby protectively. Her eyes widened when she recognized who he was. Pictures of Ethan Caldwell were everywhere. Billionaire. Philanthropist. The man who owned this very ranch. "Sir, I'm sorry," she breathed. "I didn't know anyone was coming." Ethan slowly lifted a hand, signaling calm.
Who are you?
"How did you get in here?" Her voice trembled. "My name is Amara Thompson. I used to work here. Housekeeping. Before," she swallowed hard. "Before the foreclosure notice." His chest tightened. The ranch caretaker had told him everything was under control. Apparently, that wasn't true. "You're not supposed to be here," Ethan said quietly. "This property is private." Amara's eyes shone with a fear he recognized. Not fear of him, but of what his words could mean.
Please.
"We'll leave. I just needed a place for one night." It was cold, and she stopped embarrassed. "I didn't know where else to take them." The baby whimpered. She bounced her gently. Ethan stepped inside fully now, looking from the children to her. Her clothes were worn, her eyes exhausted, and yet she held her babies with a strength that humbled him. She wasn't trespassing for crime. She was surviving. "Why didn't you ask for help?" he asked softly. Amara lowered her gaze. "People like you don't help people like me." Ethan felt those words like a punch. And in that moment, the entire reason he had come here, anger, betrayal, exhaustion, faded into something else.
Concern. Curiosity.
And something he hadn't felt in years. Compassion. He took a deep breath. "This isn't how today was supposed to go," he murmured. Amara nodded, hugging her baby tighter. "But now that you're here," Ethan continued gently, "I need to know everything." The living room felt strangely intimate now. Ethan gestured toward the couch. "Sit. You must be tired." Amara hesitated, unsure whether she was being offered kindness or interrogated. But her legs wobbled beneath her. Fatigue won. She eased onto the couch, the baby still in her arms, the boys crawling to her feet. Ethan remained standing for a moment, studying the family before him. 3 small children, triplets, clearly under 2, looked up at him with curious, trusting eyes. He had built towers of wealth, funded innovation around the world, but nothing had ever humbled him like small children did. He lowered himself into the armchair across from her. "Tell me why you're here," he said gently. She exhaled shakily. "I worked here for 9 months. The ranch manager, Mr. Collins, hired me after my husband died." Ethan blinked. "I didn't know Collins had hired new staff." "He said you approved it," she whispered. "I believed him." Ethan clenched his jaw. Collins had been pocketing money, then, hiring under-the-table workers and overbilling Ethan for years. And now this woman, this exhausted mother, was paying the price for his corruption. "What happened next?" he asked. Her voice softened. "I worked every day. I cleaned the stables, the guest house, the trails. I even washed the windows in the freezing cold. Mr. Collins promised my job was secure. And then, he fired me," she whispered. 2 months ago. He said the ranch was going bankrupt. Said you'd ordered to shut everything down." She shook her head. "I had nowhere else to go. Not with babies this young. Ethan blinked. So you came back here? She nodded, shame filling her eyes. Only at night. Only when it was too cold outside. I never stole anything. I swear it. A dull ache rose in Ethan's chest. He could tell she was telling the truth. Her eyes, tired but honest, held no deceit. The baby began to fuss. Amara pulled out a bottle from a ragged diaper bag, shaking it. Empty. Her face crumbled. We ran out of formula 3 days ago, she whispered. I've just been feeding them watered oats. Ethan looked at the baby's thin arms. Her tiny ribs. The boy's oversized t-shirts. His stomach twisted. How long have you been staying here? He asked, his voice careful. 3 nights, she whispered. We sleep in the barn. It's cleaner than most shelters. I didn't think anyone would come. I'm sorry. Ethan stood abruptly, startling her. Don't apologize, he said firmly. Not for trying to keep your babies alive. He took 1 step toward her, something determined in his eyes. I'm not letting you leave. Not tonight. Not like this. Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Amara stared at him, unsure if his words were kindness or the prelude to consequences she couldn't bear. Ethan knelt beside the boys on the floor. They stared at him with big bright eyes, unaware of the tension between adults. One boy touched Ethan's shoe, giggling. The sound squeezed Ethan's heart. How old are they? He asked softly. 17 months, she replied. Born prematurely. Their father died before they took their first steps. He lifted the boy onto his knee, surprised at how light he was. Too light. Malnutrition. His chest tightened. You shouldn't be going through this alone, he murmured. Amara blinked rapidly, refusing to let the tears fall. But I am, she whispered. Because no one else will help. He felt the sting. Society was always eager to judge struggling mothers, especially Black single mothers, yet never eager to understand their battles. He looked at her again. Something in her gaze, her strength, her worry, her devotion, pierced him. When was the last time you ate? He asked suddenly. She flinched as if the question exposed a secret she fought to hide. I fed the kids first, she said quietly. I'll eat when things get better. Ethan swallowed hard. Her cheekbones were sharper than they should be, her wrists thin, her clothes loose. She wasn't just tired, she was starving. Guilt surged through him, even though he wasn't the cause. But his ranch, his manager, his neglect of this property had created a space where suffering went unnoticed. He stood. I'll get food, he said. Real food. But as he turned toward the kitchen, he heard a small gasp. The baby's bottle slipped from Amara's weak hand. Her body wobbled forward. Ethan lunged, catching the baby before she fell. Amara. Sit back, he urged, guiding her gently. Her head dropped into her hands as she tried to breathe steadily. I'm sorry. I'm just dizzy. You're not dizzy, he said quietly. You're hungry.
Exhausted.
And dehydrated. Her shoulders shook. Ethan placed the baby in her lap and knelt in front of her. Look at me. She did slowly. You are not weak, he said. You're surviving. That's strength. 1 tear escaped down her cheek. And something inside Ethan broke open. Something he had buried under business meetings, wealth, and pride. This wasn't just about charity.
This was about humanity.
He stood. You and your children are staying inside this house tonight, he said with finality. And tomorrow, I fix everything. When Ethan returned from the kitchen with food, soup, bread, fruit, Amara's eyes widened. But she didn't touch it. Instead, she pushed the bowl toward her children. You first, she whispered. Ethan stopped her gently.
No.
You need strength too. I'll eat later, she said. He placed the spoon in her hand. Eat now, he said softly.
Please.
She hesitated, then lifted the bowl. The first taste made her eyes close in relief. Ethan watched in silence, heart aching as she devoured spoon after spoon with a desperation that told its own story. After she finished, she wiped her mouth quickly, ashamed of her speed. I'm sorry, she murmured. Stop apologizing, he said. She shifted uncomfortably as he sat across from her. What are you going to do with us? She finally asked. Help you. Help comes with conditions, she whispered. Always. He leaned forward. Mine doesn't. She eyed him skeptically. She had met men who promised kindness, but delivered cruelty. Ethan could see that in her guarded shoulders. So let me ask you plainly, Ethan continued. What do you need? She laughed softly, brokenly. Everything. Then I'll start with something simple. He pointed to the children. Do you want to stay here with them? In a warm house? With food? With safety? Her breath hitched. Yes, she whispered. Then stay. It sounded impossible. Unreal. Almost dangerous. Why? She demanded. Why help me?
You don't know me.
You're a millionaire. I'm just a mother, he cut in. And right now, that's enough. Her lips trembled. Ethan continued. You said Collins fired you.
He lied. He stole from me.
And he used you. That ends now.
She shivered.
But what about my babies? If you call social services. I won't, he said quickly. I would never separate you from them. She stared at him long and hard, searching for deception. You don't trust me, he observed gently. I've learned not to trust anyone, she said. Especially people with money. He nodded slowly. Then I'll earn it. Your trust. But why me? She whispered. Because the moment I walked into this room, I saw a woman fighting for her children with everything she has, he said. I respect that more than you know. Her lips parted slightly. And I don't want your pity, she added. You're not getting pity, he answered. You're getting a second chance. She inhaled sharply. And the babies? She asked. They're staying here too, he said. As long as you want. Amara finally understood something. This man didn't intend to save her. He intended to stand beside her. And that scared her because kindness that real felt like something she didn't deserve. The crackling fireplace warmed the room, but the tension between them still lingered. Ethan sat on the floor beside the triplets, stacking wooden blocks with surprising gentleness for a man who ran billion-dollar companies. You're good with them, Amara murmured. He smiled softly. I never had kids. I guess I missed something beautiful. One boy placed a block in Ethan's hand, giggling. Ethan handed it back with a quiet, "Thank you, buddy." Amara watched, heart tugging. She hadn't seen anyone bond with her children so quickly, not even their late father. She pulled the baby girl closer, the infant already drifting to sleep after her small meal. Ethan glanced up. They feel safe with you, he said. They're all I have. He nodded thoughtfully. Then we protect them. Together. Her breath caught. That word, together, felt dangerous. Too hopeful. You speak like it's easy, she said. It isn't, Ethan admitted. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. She studied him quietly. The millionaire suit didn't match the man kneeling on the floor building towers with toddlers. His eyes weren't cold like in his business interviews. They were warm, intently focused, human. He rose and sat beside her on the couch, not too close, but enough to show presence. Tell me what you want most right now, he said. She looked at the sleeping baby, then at her sons. Stability, she whispered. A place where they won't be hungry. A roof that won't collapse. A chance for them to grow without fear. Ethan nodded. And you'll have that. She shook her head. You can't just say things like that. I'm a man who keeps promises, he said. Emotions surged in her chest. No one had promised her anything in years. What would you say, Ethan continued softly, if I told you you could stay here while I get everything sorted?
Legally.
Safely. She blinked rapidly. Stay here? In your home. In the guest house, he clarified. It's warm, furnished, and big enough for all of you. Amara stared at him, speechless. He continued, no conditions. No debt. Just someplace safe. Her heart pounded. I should say no. I should leave. Then why haven't you? He asked gently. The question broke her. Because leaving meant going back to fear. Leaving meant risking her babies' lives. Leaving meant turning down the first real kindness she had seen in years. She whispered the truth. Because I'm tired of running. Ethan nodded slowly. Then stop. He didn't touch her. Didn't push.
Didn't pretend.
He just sat beside her, quietly, offering safety without demanding anything in return. And for the first time in months, Amara allowed herself to breathe. The triplets finally drifted to sleep on a makeshift blanket nest near the fireplace. Amara rose slowly, needing a moment alone. She walked toward the window, her arms wrapped around herself. The night outside the ranch was quiet, peaceful in a way her life had never been. But peace scared her. Peace made her feel unworthy, vulnerable, exposed. Ethan approached slowly, keeping a respectful distance. If you need space, I can step out, he offered. She shook her head.
No.
I'm trying to understand why you're doing this. He inhaled deeply. Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned, he admitted. My mother struggled when I was young. Not like this, she didn't have triplets, but she was alone. No help. No rest. He looked at the sleeping children. I always wish anyone had helped her. Amara turned to him, shocked. You? Suffered. Ethan smiled sadly. Money doesn't erase childhood scars. She swallowed. I didn't think men like you ever struggled. I did, he said softly. And I remember every moment. She looked down. I'm scared. I know, he said. I'd be scared too. She hesitated, then finally asked the question haunting her. What if you change your mind tomorrow? What if you decide we're too much trouble? Ethan stepped closer, still careful, still gentle. Amara, he said, voice steady, a woman who kept triplets alive with nothing but her willpower could never be. Too much trouble. Her breathing hitched. He continued, I'm not helping you out of pity. I'm helping because you deserve a chance. Your children deserve a chance. And because this ranch is big enough for all of us. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. She covered her mouth. Ethan reached out, not to touch her, but to offer a tissue from the table. She took it, hands trembling. You're not alone anymore, he said quietly. She sobbed into her hands, soft, muffled sobs of someone who had held her pain too tightly for too long. Ethan looked at the triplets again, their small bodies curled together, their tiny chests rising gently in sleep. I'll make some calls tomorrow, he said. First, I'll have Collins arrested. Then I'll arrange legal housing, food deliveries, medical checkups for the children, he hesitated. And a job for you.
A real job.
With benefits. Stability. She stared at him, tears still falling. Why would you do that? He looked her in the eyes. Because you walked into my home and reminded me what humanity looks like. Her breath caught. You reminded me what truly matters, he whispered. The fireplace dimmed as the night settled deeper around them. Ethan kneeled again beside the sleeping triplets, adjusting a tiny blanket that had slipped off. Amara watched him, still unsure if this was real. Why are you being so gentle? She asked softly. He smiled. Because they deserve gentleness. And so do you. Her chest tightened. Ethan stood and faced her fully. Before we move forward with anything, there's one thing you need to know. She braced herself. You're not indebted to me. Not now, not ever. I'm helping because it's right, not because I expect anything in return. She nodded slowly. I don't know how to accept help without expecting it to be taken away. Then I'll teach you, he said gently. Amara looked at the room where they all stood, the same room that had witnessed fear, shock, hunger, and now, hope. One scene, but everything inside it had changed. I want to stay, she whispered finally. For them. And maybe for me too. Ethan's expression softened so deeply it almost broke her. Then stay. Her hands trembled as she picked up her sleeping daughter. Ethan picked up one of the boys, carefully, respectfully, letting the child's head rest on his shoulder. The simplicity of the action struck Amara hard. A millionaire was carrying her baby like he was precious. When they reached the hallway, Ethan paused. The guest room is warm. I prepared it earlier while you were feeding them. Her eyes widened. You prepared it? He shrugged lightly. I wanted you comfortable. They stepped inside. The room glowed softly from a bedside lamp.
Clean sheets.
Fresh blankets. A crib waiting in the corner. Her knees buckled slightly. "No one has ever done anything like this for me," she whispered. Ethan set the toddler in the crib gently. Then he turned to her. "That changes tonight." She swallowed, overwhelmed. "Why does this feel like the start of something?" "Because it is," he answered softly. She hugged her daughter, eyes shining. "What happens tomorrow?" she asked. "Tomorrow," he said, "we build a new life for your children. And maybe, if you allow it, for you and me as well." Her heart skipped. Not romance. Not promises. Just the possibility of healing. She nodded slowly. Then Ethan stepped back, giving her space.
Rest.
"I'll be right down the hall if you need anything." She watched him leave, then whispered a soft thank you. He paused at the doorway, his silhouette warm in the lamplight. "Get some sleep, Amara," he said. "You're safe now." For the first time in months, maybe years, she believed it. And in that single scene, in one room of a ranch she never expected to enter, the lives of a millionaire, a mother, and her 3 children shifted forever.